Hello, and welcome to another SkaredCast Battle Report. Here we have the Dark Eldar facing off against Matt. Matt is the infamous Matt who played Cronair at the last tournament, and in retaliation he has brought his Alpha Legion Chaos Space Marine army and have challenged me to a game. This is a 1250 point game. We are playing Big Guns Never Tire with, of course, Hammer and Anvil deployment. Now, we go into lists and showcase to speed things up. That is my Homunculus Ancient with 3 Grotesques in a Raider. His Warlord trait is counterattack within my deployment zone for him and his unit. I have 8 Racks with a Liquefy gun in that Raider. A Kronos with Chain Flails and a Splinter Cannon. That's a Talos. A Kronos with all possible upgrades. 10 Warriors with a Splinter Cannon. Next to 6 Reaver Jet Bikes with 2 Heat Lances. Inside the building, underneath there, we have a Gravwell Generator objective, 1 of 3 objectives. 8 Witches with Haywire Grenades are in that Raider. And in reserve, I have a Razor Wing with 2 Dark Lances and stock missiles. On the Chaos Alpha Legion side, Matt will take us through his list.
I started with 2 Mauler Fiends, because I love them. A 10-man squad of Chaos Warriors with Dual Flamers and Power Sword on the Champion. A 10-man Chaos Warrior squad with Dual Melta and a Power Sword on the Champion. They're in a Rhino with Havoc Launcher and Dirge Caster. In reserve, I have Abaddon with a 4-man Terminator squad all equipped with Combi Plaz. And a Turkey, a Helldrake.
Okay, and these are, of course, the Forge World Justarian Terminators that look absolutely fantastic. So we're looking forward to having them in the game, and they're probably going to destroy a lot of my models. So hopefully in better light you'll be able to see them better. So stay tuned. Chaos has first turn. It is not Night Fight, and we'll be back as the game continues. In a flurry of flailing limbs, the Mauler Fiends have advanced 18 and 17 inches up the table because they are super fast, putting a lot of pressure on the Dark Eldar line. The Rhino in close support has blown smoke, and this Mauler Fiend has sabotaged this objective, while the unit at the back here has decided to remain stationary and not move. Fastest movement history ever. And nothing happened. We had the Talos move up and try charge the Mauler Fiend, who got missed by both Dark Lances. We had the Reaver Jet Bikes hit with 1 Heat Lance and failed to pen, and they jumped back. And then the Kronos moved into cover, the Racks moved up, and the Warriors were out of range of anything. So, right now, it's still a fair game for everything. Matt's gonna roll for his reserves.
Turkey.
Hell Turkey.
Nope.
Does not show up.
Woohoo! Terminators
show up. With a crackle and a snap and a pop, Abaddon and his Terminators showed up and rapid-fired plasma into the Talos, doing 2 wounds. 1 of the Terminators overheated twice and failed both armor saves, so he is molten slag. The 1 Mauler Fiend charged into the command barge with the Grotesques, and in the explosion has succeeded to wound 1 of the Grotesques. The Rhino with the Chaos Marines has moved up behind the cover of that piping. And the other Mauler Fiend successfully charged the Reaver Jet Bikes, who failed to hit with any Overwatch hits, but have successfully broken away from the combat, and the Mauler Fiend failed to catch them down. So now we're moving on to Dark Eldar, turn 2. Does the Razorwing show up? It does. Maneuvering around the board. Saw all shots into that Mauler Fiend to, in effect, the Razorwing zoomed on the board and took a hull point and shook the Rhino so the passengers inside may not fire this turn. The Talos has shot into the Terminators, doing nothing, but the Liquefy gun has managed to kill 1 of the Terminators. The Kronos also tried to fire into the Terminators, but failed to do any damage. In the assault, the 8 Witches jumped out, charged into the Mauler Fiend, failed their fear test, and 3 were cut down. They are now fleeing. The Mauler Fiend is free to act in its own turn, and we're rolling to see if Mr. Heldrake shows up again.
No.
He does not show up once again, which means he will be back for the end game at turn 4. Abaddon has killed the Talos, but has taken a wound from Overwatch fire. The Terminators have moved in and charged and damaged and destroyed the Rack Raider, but the Racks are unaffected. In combat, the Mauler Fiend killed 2 Grotesques and put a wound on another one with his magma cutters. They fell back and he failed to catch them. Now we're moving on to Dark Eldar turn 3. The witches failed to rally and ran off the table. The Homunculus Ancient is braving the odds by standing against the Strength 10 Mauler Fiend. In shooting, 1 Terminator fell to 2 Flamer templates. And in the charging, the Racks failed their charge, rolling a double 1, and the Kronos made it in, but failed to kill the Terminator. The Razorwing and Mobile Raider have fired into the Mauler Fiend, but have failed to do any damage. And the Splinter Cannon, and all the Splinter weapons fired into Abaddon to no effect. And we'll be back after the Heldrake arrives and Chaos plays out their turn 4. The Heldrake moved in, flaming 2 of the... killing 1 of the Racks. Then Abaddon killed 2 with his combi bolter, and they fell back. He successfully rolled the distance to charge them, and they failed their regroup test, so they scattered into the wind. The Kronos has still failed to kill the Terminator, while the sabotage objective blew up, but failed to kill the Terminator. The Havoc launcher fired into the bunched up warriors in the building, killing 2 of them in the explosion, while the Mauler Fiend has moved up, waiting for them to run away or die in order to hold that objective. The Mauler Fiend on this side has charged and netted himself Warlord by killing the Grotesque and Homunculus Ancient. And we'll be back after Dark Eldar turn 4. The Cabalite warriors reshuffled around the building and opened up on Abaddon, causing 5 wounds. He failed 1 armor save. He's now down to 2. The Kronos finally succeeded in killing a model with his injector and wiping out a unit, earning him 2 pain tokens. He consolidated into the cover. We're moving on to Chaos turn 5. Could be the end of the game. Stay tuned. Abaddon has moved behind the building and ran in a tactical position to Linebreaker, the Dark Eldar. The Heldrake vector striked and killed 1, and flamed and killed 1 of the warriors. They did not fall back. In combat, the Mauler Fiend succeeded in killing the Kronos after the full squad of Chaos Marines took a wound off it. And the explosion has killed, from the sabotage objective, has killed 2 melter guns that were closest to the explosion. We're moving on to Dark Eldar turn 5, and the Razorwing is back online. The Razorwing moved up, fired into the Mauler Fiend. Both lances hit and did nothing. The Splinter Cannon and 1 warrior were able to draw a line on Abaddon. They succeeded in giving 1 wound to him, but he passed his armor save. And now, it's end of turn 5. We're rolling to see if the objective blows up first. And it does! Again. So it's going to hit 1 guy. 1 guy on a strength 4 hit. He takes a wound, and he passes it. And we're rolling to see if the game continues. And it does! Moving on to Chaos turn 6. The Mauler Fiends have moved up. The Heldrake has moved into hover mode and butchered 2 more of the Cabalite warriors, but they did not fall back. And we're moving on to Dark Eldar. Oh, we're rolling to see if it explodes. Does it explode? It does not. Cabalite warriors have consolidated their position on that objective. The Razorwing has boosted up, because it is big guns never tire, to gain me Linebreaker. And the objective did not explode again. And we're going to roll to see if it continues on to turn 7. It does! We'll be back after Chaos turn 7. Turn 7 recap. Just as fast as turn 1 Chaos. The Heldrake vector striked and killed 1, flamed the second one, and then Warp Blaze for the 3rd time in a row actually did hit this time, killing the last warrior on the objective, netting the Mauler Fiend, who is a heavy support choice, that Gravwell generator at the end of the game. The Razorwing has stayed on the table to net the Dark Eldar Linebreaker, but the Chaos Warriors have gained 2 pain tokens for the Chronos, 2 pain tokens, 2 victory points for the Chronos and the Talos, 3 objectives for and Warlord and Linebreaker for a grand total of 13 victory points. Thanks a lot for tuning in. This is Skari, your host. Matt, any additional comments?
Ridvin, roll better.
And that will be the plan for next time. Roll 6s. This is Skari. Stay tuned for the tactical corner of how you can stay in your game regardless of the horrible stuff that happens to you in-game. Now, Matt's going to put up a video response to this video, so make sure you check that out as well. All in all, thanks for tuning in. This is Skari. Out. Welcome to this tactical corner with Skari. So we start with deployment. I knew that the Chaos Space Marines were going to come at me fast, so I deployed in a sense that he could come up, I could deal with the Maul Fiends, and then counterattack with my Witches and my close combat units to take them out. Now, my turn 1, I failed to do any damage to the Maul Fiends whatsoever, and then in turn 2, the Jester and Terminators came down with Abaddon, and he was able to take out my Grotesque Raider and pin my Warlord to that flank, putting me in a precarious position. In turn 3, I was hoping to spring the trap with the Witches and was hoping to take care of that one Mauler Fiend, but the Witches bounced off the Mauler Fiend, which is horrible. Now on the other flank, the other Mauler Fiend quickly dispatched my Reaver jet bikes and then basically proceeded to move underneath the warriors. He couldn't charge because he couldn't fit on the above levels. Now, I tried to put as much pressure on as I could, but quickly found myself without units, as the Mauler Fiends themselves were just eating everything in sight. The Kronos was putting pressure on the center objective, but the Mauler Fiend was able to free himself up fast enough to then move up and deal with it effectively. My Razorwing tried to take out the different tanks throughout the game, and sadly none of my Lancers were effective. I was trying to mitigate the amount of damage that I was getting dealt with, regardless of my dice rolling. Now, towards the end of the game, I could only get things like Linebreaker, trying to get as many points as I could possibly get out of a game that was going quickly downhill. And with the loss of those warriors, I was unable to capture the objective that was being taken by the Mauler Fiend in the Cathedral. Well, thanks a lot for listening. I learned a lot about my Coven. This is Skari out.